Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Tribal Nature-Based Solutions Grant Workshop. We are so excited to have announced the $101 million Tribal Nature-Based Solutions Grant Program yesterday, and I'm very excited to share the details about the grant program with you all today. As a friendly reminder, we are recording today's webinar with the goal of having the recording posted on our website for folks to go back to and refer to as folks are applying for the grant program. And so please be aware that we are recording today. We also are very excited to answer folks' questions on the grant program and encourage folks to submit your questions through the chat feature on this Teams webinar. As a way of getting your questions out there, we'll have some folks online to try to answer those questions live, as well as having a portion at the end of this workshop to answer any other questions that folks might have at the end of the PowerPoint presentation. So please feel free to use that chat feature to submit your questions, and we will try our very best to answer them immediately or at the end of the PowerPoint presentation. Thank you again for spending your morning with us today to talk about the Tribal Nature-Based Solutions Grant Program. And so we're going to kick off the webinar with a few introductions. So my name is Geneva E.B. Thompson. I'm a citizen of the Cherokee Nation, she, her pronouns, and I'm very honored to serve as the first ever Deputy Secretary for Tribal Affairs at the California Natural Resources Agency. I've been with the agency for a little over 2 years now, with most of my portfolio or goals or responsibilities are to set the tribal affairs policies for the California Natural Resources Agency, work closely with the executive team and with all of the tribal affairs staff across our 26 departments, conservancies, and commissions underneath the agency umbrella. And it's my true honor to be here with you all today and to talk about this new grant program and to introduce you to the new grant team who have joined us here at the California Natural Resources Agency to support the rollout of the $101 million Tribal Nature-Based Solutions Grant Program. And so very excited to introduce them to you all. And I will hand it off to Jordan, if you'd like to introduce yourself to everyone.
Yes, so thank you all for joining us today. Bonjour, good morning, and hello. My name is Jordan Markson. I'm Lakudere Ojibwe from northern Wisconsin, and I just joined the Tribal Nature-Based Solutions grant team 2 weeks ago, but I'm really excited to work with you all. I've worked in a legal capacity as in-house counsel for several tribes in Wisconsin and as state attorney, and most recently served as a project manager on a Department of Justice Tribal Technical Assistance grant. So I'm looking forward to working with you all. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to contact me in the application process. And I'll turn it over to Pete.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Pete Barker. Just like Jordan, I'm brand new to the program, learning a lot as I hit the ground running, but we're excited to get things rolling and get to know all of you in the chat there. I come from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife Office of Spill Prevention and Response, where I was a tribal liaison and a grant administrator. And I'm excited to be here and excited to learn more about this program with everybody and be here to help. Back to you, Geneva.
All right. Well, Wado, thank you, Jordan and Pete. We're so excited to have you join us here at CNRA and helping get this grant program off the ground and money to tribes. So really excited to have you all here. And it's a great team. I also wanted to introduce Deep, who I know that many of you have met. They've been helping with our tribal consultations and the development of the grant guidelines since last November, and was with the California Natural Resources Agency as a CCST fellow, but now is serving in a new role of the 30 by 30 program manager for the Ocean Protection Council, and will also be part of the grant team as we move forward through this grant program. And so definitely say hi when you see them, and we're excited to have everyone here. We are also working on having 2 new staff positions join us, and we're still going through that hiring process, but the team is still growing and very excited to have everyone on board to work closely with you all through this grant program. So as a quick introduction, the California Natural Resources Agency is an agency that oversees and supports more than 26 distinct departments, conservancies, and commissions. Our agency's executive team leads efforts to steward California's natural environment and to advance Governor Newsom's key priorities. Really, the mission of the agency is to restore, protect, and manage the state's natural, historical, and cultural resources for current and future generations using creative approaches and solutions based on science, collaboration, and respect for all communities and interests involved. And so at the agency, we're working really hard to pursue that mission. And as that intersects with our tribal affairs policies, working to ensure all of our natural resources and environmental policies and programs are informed through early, often and meaningful tribal consultation, and have that tribal priorities integrated throughout that work to support your tribes, your community's needs in the environmental and natural resources space. And really appreciate your all's partnership in the development of many different policies and programs that have come out of the agency. We know that it takes a lot of time and energy to consult with the agency in the development of those initiatives and programs. And just a huge wado and thank you for all the time that you spend with us in ensuring that your tribe's priorities are integrated throughout the state's environmental and natural resources work. Also wanted to introduce the Ocean Protection Council. The Ocean Protection Council is one of the departments underneath the agency umbrella, and with a mission and focus on protecting California's coast and oceans by advancing innovative science-based policy and management, making strategic investments, and catalyzing action through partnership and collaboration. Their priorities kind of fit into 4 different buckets of climate change, equity, biodiversity, and sustainable blue economy. And we are introducing the Ocean Protection Council here in this grant webinar because the Ocean Protection Council has contributed $1 million for tribal small grants under the focus of coast and ocean multi-benefit nature-based solutions projects. And we're so excited to be partnering with the Ocean Protection Council in this grant program to ensure that tribal priorities in the coast and ocean space have funding and resources to meet your tribe's goals and needs. And so huge appreciation to the Ocean Protection Council for their partnership in setting up and moving forward this grant program. So I always like to start off these conversations with setting the stage of what are the policies that we're working to implement through this grant program. Governor Newsom issued his Statement of Administrative Policy on Native American Ancestral Lands, which directed all of our agencies and departments to identify and increase tribal access and co-management of our public lands and natural resources, as well as identifying opportunities for ancestral land return. This could either be through the excess state lands process and working to support tribes and ancestral land returns through that process, as well as here for this grant program, having funds available for the purchase of private property as an ancestral land return project. Governor Newsom also issued the Nature-Based Solutions Executive Order in 8220, which directed the California Natural Resources Agency and others to identify strategies, policies, and goals that would really elevate the role of natural and working lands in the fight against the climate change and advance biodiversity conservation. And so these 2 governor policies are really setting the stage and driving the goals and initiatives out of this grant program. And we hope that you find them as helpful resources. And I forgot to mention in the beginning of this webinar, both Jordan and Pete are going to be putting useful links into the chat as we go through this grant program. And so you can find all of these different policy documents where they live online and have those at your fingertips. So we hope that those are a helpful resource to you all. So out of the executive order, the Nature-Based Solutions Executive Order, the California Natural Resources Agency and our partners developed these 2 strategies that really set the universe or the playbook of how the state is going to look at nature-based solutions and really drive those policies forward in a way that works with nature to address the climate crisis as well as the biodiversity crisis. And a huge motto and thank you to all of the tribes who consulted with us on the development of both of these strategies. We hope that you see your tribe's priorities represented throughout the strategies, and that it's a helpful tool for advancing your tribe's policy goals in the environmental and natural resources space. So the first strategy is the Natural and Working Lands Climate Smart Strategy, which describes and prioritizes management practices of 8 landscapes to deliver on our climate change goals and advance broader environmental, economic, and social objectives. So this strategy is a very helpful tool when thinking about how do we live in relation with our lands and how do we adjust our practices so we can better work with our lands so they can serve as carbon sinks or provide the climate resiliency that we all rely on and count on. And so really encourage you all to take a look at this Natural Working Lands Climate Smart Strategy, as there's a lot of information and a lot of, I think, really practical goals to implement in addressing the climate crisis. We also have the Pathways to 30 by 30 strategy, which identifies 10 pathways to conserve 30% of lands and coastal waters by 2030. So this strategy is really focusing on conserving our beautiful lands, our beautiful waters, to ensure that there's habitat and healthy environments, not only to prepare us, not only for climate resiliency purposes, but also to ensure that there's habitat to support all of the animals and plants and other living creatures that rely on healthy, abundant places moving forward. And so that's where we get the goal of 30 by 30 as conserving 30% of lands and waters by 2030. Both documents can be found on the website, californianature.ca.gov. Really encourage folks to take a look at those two strategies, as these two strategies play a key role in the Tribal Nature-Based Solutions Grant Program. We also have the Ocean Protection Council's Tribal Engagement Strategy. And again, thank you to the tribes who consulted with the Ocean Protection Council in the development of this engagement strategy. This strategy provides a framework to enhance partnerships between the California Ocean Protection Council and tribes, and really works to advance OPC's mission to ensure California maintains healthy, resilient, productive oceans and coastal ecosystems for the benefit of current and future generations. And as mentioned kind of the beginning of this webinar, one of the goals that are built into that strategy is to launch a tribal small grants program to support tribal priorities in the coast and ocean space. And we're very excited to partner with the Ocean Protection Council on those tribal small grants to ensure that there is funds available for coast and ocean tribally led projects, and really looking forward to partnering not only with the council, but also tribes in the rollout of this grant program. So a key kind of framework that is built out in the Pathways to 30 by 30 strategy is how are we looking at conservation, and how is that framework being rolled out throughout all of our nature-based solutions work, all of our 30 by 30 work, including this grant program. And the key objectives in that conservation framework are to protect and restore biodiversity, expand access to nature, and mitigate and build resiliency to climate change. And to implement those key objectives, we have the core commitments, which I always encourage folks to look at as lenses, as ways to look at how we advance conservation in addressing these key objectives. So the core commitments in the conservation framework are to advance justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, strengthen tribal partnerships, and protect our economic prosperity, clean energy resources, and food supply. So this framework here is helping set the stage for how the agency and the state are moving forward in our conservation work under the 30 by 30 strategy. And as you can see, I bolded and underlined strengthen tribal partnerships, because that's a huge component of, I mean, it's the leading component of this grant program, as we're really wanting to have funds available to support tribes in the development of multi-benefit nature-based solutions projects moving forward. This is also to say that everyone who's working under the 30 by 30 conservation framework has that shared core commitment to strengthening tribal partnerships. And so it's not just this particular grant program that is meeting this core commitment, but that all of the nature-based solutions money here in the state has been charged with this core commitment to partner with tribes. And we're also asking non-state entities to also meet this core commitment and really reaching out and working collaboratively with their tribal partners in the areas that they're working to conserve. So I hope that this conservation framework helps kind of set the stage of what we are talking about for this grant program. And we're all here, right, to discuss this brand new grant program, the Tribal Nature-Based Solutions program that's really focused on advancing tribal multi-benefit nature-based solutions priorities. This program has been informed through early, often and meaningful government-to-government consultations, tribal roundtable sessions, and regional workshops. From the very beginning of when we were writing the Natural Working Lands Climate Smart Strategy, the Pathways to 30 by 30 strategy, as well as when Governor Newsom announced the budget proposal to have the $100 million program to support tribal priorities in this space. So a huge appreciation for all of the tribes who consulted with us in the development of this program. We know it took a considerable amount of time and energy to do so, and we hope that you see your tribe's priorities built into this program and that this will be a useful tool and resource for you all in advancing your multi-benefit nature-based solutions work. So we have $100 million for the Tribal Nature-Based Solutions Grant Program, as well as the $1 million for the Ocean Protection Council's Tribal Small Grants to make the total of $101 million grant program, which we're so excited to have announced and receiving applications. So a huge wado and thank you to all of the tribes who hosted us for regional workshops on the draft grant guidelines. It was such an honor to be on your lands, connecting with your tribal leaders, your members, and also the neighboring tribes who all kind of came together and did a deep dive on these draft grant guidelines to make sure that we can tailor it to fit your tribe's needs and make sure that it's a useful resource for you all in advancing multi-benefit nature-based solutions projects. We had the honor of meeting with representatives from over 45 different tribes on these draft grant guidelines and really appreciate Big Valley Band of Pomo Indians, the Wiyot Tribe, Big Pine Paiute of Owens Valley, Santa Ynez Band of Chumash Indians, and Sycuan Band of Kumeyaay Nation for hosting us in your buildings and on your lands to have these important conversations. So again, a huge wado and thank you for your partnership in the development of this program. So kind of getting into the meat of it now, this program is available to fund 4 different types of projects. First, planning projects for multi-benefit nature-based solutions projects, implementation projects that are really, again, that multi-benefit nature-based solutions focus, ancestral land return for the purpose of advancing multi-benefit nature-based solutions with a planning project component to that ancestral land return project. And then the 4th type of eligible project is the ancestral land return for the purpose of advancing multi-benefit nature-based solutions projects with that implementation component to it. Applicants may submit multiple applications for unique projects across the categories, but we ask that you don't include aspects of the same project across multiple applications. So if you kind of one neat application per project would really help the reviewing committee in understanding what projects you're hoping to have funded through this grant program. So 2 key definitions that we wanted to pull out because they're so essential to the grant program is the definition of multi-benefit and the definition of nature-based solutions. So multi-benefit for the purposes of this program means projects that produce 2 or more benefits that include addressing climate change, improving public health, increasing equity, protecting biodiversity, all as defined by the Natural Working Lands Climate Smart Strategy and the Pathways to 30 by 30 strategy. And so when we are talking about this grant program, we encourage applicants to read both the Natural Working Lands Climate Smart Strategy and the Pathways to 30 by 30 strategy and see where within those 2 strategies your project lies to help craft your grant application and meet this multi-benefit definition. The second key definition is nature-based solutions. And so nature-based solutions means actions that work with and enhance nature to help address societal challenges. This term describes a range of approaches that protect, sustainably manage, and restore nature to deliver multiple outcomes, including addressing climate change, improving public health, increasing equity, and protecting biodiversity. So I hope these two definitions kind of help frame the types of projects that are eligible for the $101 million grant program. Eligible applicants include California Native American tribes and tribally led entities located within California. We've heard in consultations that some tribes prefer to partner with non-tribal entities to help navigate grant processes or land transaction processes, and it's helpful to have those partnerships. And so non-tribal entities may support tribes in applying for the program, but that we do ask that there's confirmation that California Native American tribe is actively partnering with and is being supported by the application through either a signed letter or resolution from the chairperson. And then there's a clear description of how the project will serve the supporting tribes and community. Applications can also be submitted on behalf of intertribal consortiums, tribal conservation districts, and partnerships. But again, there needs to be that clear confirmation that California Native American tribes are actively partnering in this program and going to be supported by the application and the project coming out. CNRA will confirm with the chairpersons of the tribes that are listed as being partnering with and supporting with in this grant program. And so we will have that open dialogue and conversation with the tribes who are listed in these grant applications. So really encourage, if you're a non-tribal entity or an intertribal consortium, to really have close conversations with tribal leaders to make sure that that partnership is deep and true, and to have those letters of support ready to go when applying for this program. So the funding, as laid out in the grant program, in tribal consultation, we heard that it would be helpful to have some minimums and maximums for each type of project to help kind of guide the program and ensure that there's some clarity and understanding of how the funds are being rolled out. So for planning projects, a minimum dollar amount is the $50,000 with a maximum of $1 million. For implementation, minimum is $200,000 with a maximum of $5 million. And for ancestral land return, minimum of $200,000 with a maximum of $10 million. So please keep these maximums in mind when you're preparing your grant applications, and just know that that's part of this grant application structure. We also receive funds in different budget cycles with different mechanisms, and so each come with a different encumbrance, expenditure, and final invoice deadlines. And so we shared those dates here with you all on this slide. They're also within the final grant guidelines as well. And so hope that that's a helpful resource to you all. So the process for applying for funds in the standard grant program have been broken out into 4 steps. So step 1 is a preliminary project proposal stage where applicants can submit a short preliminary project proposal to determine eligibility for the program. We heard in tribal consultation that it takes considerable amount of time to prepare full grant applications, and that it would help tribes if we had this step 1 preliminary project proposal stage where you can quickly kind of put together a quick application to see, like, hey, does this project count? Does this eligible for your program, without putting together the full application for submittal. And so we set up this step 1 preliminary project proposal to try to help save time and work closely with tribal partners in developing these grant applications. For the applicants that through the step 1 process that have are eligible applicants and have eligible projects, will be invited to the step 2 to submit that full project proposal. And then after receiving those step 2 full project proposals, CNRA will reach out and schedule either site visits or presentations as needed to learn more about the proposed projects and going through that grant reviewing process. And then step 4, it's going to be the last opportunity to submit additional information on our grant. Our grant team will be in touch and can share more about that step 4 process, but that's really going to be getting those final documents put together and in place so the grant review committee has all the resources they need to make a determination of which projects to fund and move forward. So that's the process for applying for funds under that standard grant program process. We also heard in consultation that tribes would have asked for a accelerated timeline condensed process for those projects that are time sensitive and shovel ready and that are ready to go. And so in doing so, we kind of set a second process that is under this, time sensitive shovel ready piece here. That we've reserved up to $25 million for these projects to realistically support tribes and time-sensitive, shovel-ready, multi-benefit, nature-based solutions, ancestral land return projects that have already been partially funded. And so this could be partially funded either through one of our other state programs, maybe a federal program, tribal program, or privately funded. And so if a tribe has an ancestral land return project that is ready to go, shovel-ready, partially funded, this accelerated timeline might be an option for you all. And essentially what we've done in the time-sensitive shovel-ready projects is condense step 2 and 4 into one application. And so hoping that applicants who are wanting to go through this accelerated process can put together a full grant application with the step 2 and the step 4 requirements in one go. And we'll get into more details a little bit later in this webinar, but that's what we are meaning by this accelerated timeline through this time-sensitive shovel-ready process. How to submit applications. You can submit applications via email or mail to the California Natural Resources Agency. We have a preference of email submissions. It helps our team keep everything managed and organized in a way if we can have those electronic documents. But if that is a burden or a barrier to you all, feel free to mail those applications to us as well. And we were very happy to get that into our system. So to email applications, please email them to tribalaffairs@resources.ca.gov. And if you're mailing applications, you can send it to California Natural Resources Agency with an attention line to the Tribal Nature-Based Solutions at 715 P Street, 20th floor in Sacramento, California, 95814. And so 2 mechanisms to submit your applications. So getting to more into the details of the standard grant process through the step 1 preliminary project proposals. We have made each of the steps and the different application forms available on our website. And what we did for the draft grant, or with the final grant guidelines, is kind of pull out each section and create application forms and templates for each step that then is housed on our website with the hopes of making it a bit easier to navigate. And as part of this webinar, we're going to kind of go through that website and it can show you what we're talking about. But for the step 1, there is an application form on our website, and we just ask that applicants respond to those questions that are built out into that application. And we also want to make applicants aware that in consultation, tribes ask for the opportunity to seek collaboration or discuss concerns with any proposed projects. And so during this step 1 phase, you'll see in the application that there's a project summary section of the application. And that summary section will be posted on our website with the applicant's public point of contact available. And so tribes can reach out and identify opportunities for collaboration or kind of work through any concerns through that step 1 process. And so I wanted folks to be aware of that component of the grant program. We also wanted to make folks aware that tribes have requested consultation with each other and with other entities that are applying for this grant program, and that we're really hoping that project applicants can do those meaningful consultations, collaborations, partnerships with other local tribes in the area that may be impacted by the applicant's project. And so we'll be asking kind of the process the applicants went through to discuss projects with local California Native American tribes. So the step 1 preliminary project proposal application includes again, that form that we discussed, a project summary, preliminary project questions, and then again, that signed letter or resolution from the chairperson from the tribe that is being supported by the application. Step 1 preliminary project proposal questions include a detailed description of the tribes that will be served by the project, explanation of how the project is multi-benefit, explaining how the project is a nature-based solution, asking if the project is advancing any coastal or ocean multi-benefit nature-based solutions. If not, that is totally fine. If so, please let us know how your project is going to benefit the coast and ocean. And then the last one is, how is the applicant an eligible applicant for the program? So just providing some kind of description of the applicant and how it meets the eligibility or requirements for this grant program. So moving on to step 2. So again, if after submitting the step 1 preliminary project proposals, if you have an eligible project and you're an eligible applicant, you'll be invited back to the step 2 to submit a full project proposal. And in that full project proposal, we're asking for project information form, the proposal form, project summary, the project questions, as well as ancestral land and boundary map, identifying where the tribe's ancestral boundaries are, as well as where the project is located within those ancestral boundaries. As part of this application, we're looking for a project proposal form, signature page, cost estimate, supporting documents, location map, again, that signed letter of resolution from the chairperson. And of course, that could be the same letter as from the step 1, but would like to see that. Site plans and photographs. And those are specifically for implementation or ancestral land return projects. So the team has put together templates for all of these documents, and those will be available on our website. And so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's a template out there to help support putting together all of these project application forms. So getting into some of the specific questions under the step 2 category, we'll need to know the project applicant's information, including name, contact information, any key partners or collaborating entities, what type of project the application is for, and again, that detailed description of the tribes that are being served by the project. We'll also, in the step 2 project application form, ask how the project is addressing a critical need for the applicant and tribes. Again, how is it multi-benefit? How is it nature-based solutions? Is it advancing any coast or ocean priorities? The types of tribal consultation and public engagement the applicant has completed in the process of this application and project proposal. And then again, how that applicant is an eligible applicant for the program. And we are aware that some of these questions are the same as the step 1. And so if the answer hasn't changed, feel free to submit the same answer. But we wanted to provide a space in case through consultation or collaboration, the project has shifted a little bit and wanted to have that space to have that conversation. But again, it still needs to meet those eligibility requirements. So as we discussed, there are 4 types of projects. Again, planning, implementation, ancestral land return with a planning component, and ancestral land return with an implementation component. And so here is a list of planning projects that we've been discussing with tribes in consultation, as well as built out in the Natural Working Lands Climate Smart strategy and the Pathways to 30 by 30 strategy. And so here is a list of types of planning projects that would be eligible under this program. I won't read all of them, but just to kind of highlight a few. Planning projects to support the preparation of California Environmental Quality Act or National Environmental Policy Act compliance documents. It could include developing restoration plans or climate resiliency plans, workforce development, research and monitoring, outreach, education, community engagement activities. So the planning kind of projects are pretty flexible, and really it's the idea of having funds available to support tribes in planning multi-benefit nature-based solutions projects. we heard in consultation there's not a lot of planning funds out there, and that having the financial support to be able to do this work makes it so much easier for tribes to then have access to all of the implementation dollars that are available, either but through the state or the federal government or other funding means. So we hope that these funds can support your tribe's priorities and planning what you need to be able to access future implementation funds. So you'll see in that application that we have planning project questions, really talking about how the planning project is going to advance the tribe's future multi-benefit nature-based solution priorities. Describe the assessments that have already been completed through this process. There's another question is about how the planning activities paid for by the grant will assist the applicant in accessing future grants. And if you have a future grant in mind that your tribe is having this planning project go towards, please let us know, because we would love to see how these funds can help support tribes in accessing other state or federal funds. A description of the planning activities that will be completed, and then how is the applicant going to measure success and document the outcomes as it relates to this planning project. So that's the planning application phase. If you have an implementation project that you're hoping to submit under this grant program, we're basically implementation projects are multi-benefit nature-based solutions projects that are ready to go, ready to implement. And how we define that ready implement is that planned projects have already undergone scoping or significant design, or can be completed within 2 years of the grant award. Projects may include costs associated with applying for other additional grants or funds to maintain or monitor the project post-project completion. So we would love to be able to support your tribe in having the staff and space needed to ensure that this implementation project can be successful moving forward and can continue to access future funds for the benefit of your tribe as well as the environment. So the implementation questions that you'll see in the application, again, discuss how the proposed project will benefit the tribe's ancestral lands and community. How will the implementation project support the tribe's future multi-benefit nature-based solutions priorities? A detailed description of the components of the implementation project, the immediate steps taken post-grant award, all of the entities with ownership or jurisdiction over this implementation project. There's a question around what type of workforce or economic development components are associated with the implementation project, and how will the applicant measure or monitor and assess the effectiveness of this implementation project. And then the last category is the ancestral land return type projects. And again, you can either have an ancestral land return project with a planning component or an ancestral land return project with an implementation component. And so if you're in planning or implementation, you would answer the questions that we just went through planning or implementation. And so these are just the specific ancestral land return questions for these applications. And essentially, ancestral land return can support tribes in the purchase of property, conservation easements, water rights, or in-stream flows. We heard throughout our consultations that certain types of ancestral land return projects should be prioritized, which include land return within current reservation boundaries that address checkerboard issues, are directly adjacent to reservation or trust land boundaries, if in shared ancestral territories jointly owned or managed by an intertribal consortium, projects or properties that are directly adjacent to other conserved lands or coastal waters with the goal of improving habitat connectivity. Also, projects that have already secured partial funding should get some prioritization. Applicants that are landless tribes or tribes with minimal lands, 20 acres or less, in reacquiring ancestral lands. And then also properties that return or restore access to and cultivation of culturally significant natural resources and traditional foods for the tribe and for members. And so really this idea of re-accessing these important natural resources. So the questions that you all will see in the ancestral land return applications, again, ask how the project relates to the applicant's ancestral lands and the significance of the property to the tribe and tribal communities. a discussion of how the property advances multi-benefit nature-based solutions priorities, if the property purchase meets any of the tribe's ancestral land return priorities, if the purchase is for property, conservation easement, or water rights and stream flows. Describe what multi-benefit nature-based solutions projects will be planned or implemented after the purchase of the property. And describe if the current owner of the property is a willing seller, and list all the current owners and jurisdictions over that property. Something that is required under state law and supporting the purchase of property is that there must be a willing seller. And so you will see through this grant program discussions around if the current owner is that willing seller, so we can kind of go through and fund these ancestral land return projects. You'll also see that there are questions around asking about the basic title analysis, the steps that have already been completed on the project, as well as immediate steps, listing the entities that have future ownership of the property, describing the long-term ownership and management plans of the property to be purchased, describe if the property is within shared ancestral territories, and any collaboration or coordination that's gone through the purchase of the property, or if there's any likelihood of opposition from other tribes within that shared ancestral territory. And then the last question is the effectiveness of the project. How is it going to be monitored and assessed in this ancestral land return space? You'll also see in the step 2 applications that there are some questions around organizational capacity. And so questions around the experience that the applicant has in completing similar projects, the fiscal capacity of the applicant to be able to carry out the project, the makeup of this decision-making body of the application. So that could be a tribal council, board of directors, or other kind of decision-making body, the applicant's mission and community served. And we also asked if you can include a website link to the applicant. And then a description of the top 5 project team members who will be implementing the project. And these organizational capacity, these 5 questions are for planning, implementation, or ancestral land return projects. So that is step 2. That's kind of the big project proposal application. And all of those resources are on our website. Again, we provided templates and application forms in the hopes of making it easier to navigate and apply through the step 2 process. So after the completion of step 2 project proposals, we'll move into the next phase, which we are calling step 3, which involves field visits or project presentations at the discretion of CNRA. And so we will be in contact with the applicant's point of contact on scheduling field visits or scheduling virtual PowerPoint presentations to discuss the step 2 project proposal application forms and ask any questions that we might have and just gain a better understanding of what the applicant is proposing in this grant program. Applicants might be required to provide additional documentation about the project, either before or during the field visit or PowerPoint presentation. So after getting through step 3, we'll move into step 4, which are those final documents that are required under the grant program. So again, we're going to need a signed authorized resolution or certification letter. This is a little bit different than the other letter or resolution that was required in step 1 and 2. Step 1 and 2 is to identify meaningful partnership in the application form. Step 4 is signed authorization to apply for and if awarded, to enter into an agreement with CNRA for the grant program. So they're slightly different documents. Again, we provided templates for both, and they're available on our website, so you can you don't have to start from scratch. So for planning projects in step 4, we're going to ask for a work plan and staff contractors rates and associated costs with staff and contractors. For the implementation and ancestral land return projects, and under step 4, we'll need assessor parcel map, property data sheet, proof of ownership, adequate site control and land tenure, operation and maintenance, project permit approval status checklist, payee data record, and then for those ancestral land returns, a letter from a willing seller to identify that, yes, the current owner of the property is willing to sell to the applicant. Again, all of these documents have templates that you can find on our website with the hopes of making it a bit easier to prepare these materials. So that is the grant application process. Again, going through step 1, 2, 3, and 4. As a friendly reminder, for those shovel-ready ancestral land return projects that are on that accelerated timeline, we're condensing step 2 and 4 into one process. And that's we've tried to lay it out as best as we can on the website to make that pretty clear about which documents are required for what process an applicant is in. We also heard in consultation concerns around confidentiality. We know that through this process, the lands that are looking to be reacquired or protected or restored might have sensitive information that needs to stay confidential. And we totally hear that and respect that, and wanted to make it very clear to folks that our preference is to not receive sensitive or confidential information from tribes or applicants. And so when you're preparing your grant materials and you're like, I think this information is, or I know this information is sensitive, I know this information needs to stay confidential, we're asking, please pick up the phone, please call us, let's talk through that, and we can work through to see if you actually even need to submit it or not. We are committed to working on a case-by-case basis with each applicant to understand the confidentiality and protect that information with, again, the preference of not receiving it. So if you're in that situation, please don't hesitate. Join us on one of our open office hours or give us a call, set up an email, and we can talk through how we can protect confidential information. In the event that the applicant believes that sharing the sensitive or confidential information is necessary for part of the application, again, contact us before submitting that, and we can discuss potential solutions. So the due dates and timelines for these two different processes. These are the deadlines that we have for the time-sensitive shovel-ready ancestral land return projects. Again, this is very accelerated, condensing step 2 and step 4 into one process. And we're asking that we have applications for the time-sensitive shovel-ready ancestral land return projects that are partially funded submitted to us by August 28th by 5 p.m. Again, you can submit via email or hard copy mail to the California Natural Resources Agency. We are hosting office hours every Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. So if you have questions about the time-sensitive shovel-ready applications, please feel free to log in and join us in those open office hours. Again, that deadline is August 28th by 5 p.m. And we're hoping to have sometime by early September anticipated notice of proposed awards and working throughout September to develop those grant agreements and getting everything solidified so we can keep moving forward on these important projects. We know that tribes have time-sensitive projects that need to move quickly, and the team is ready to support your tribes in those efforts and really appreciate. We know that this is a very accelerated timeline, so appreciate the work that it takes to prepare these materials. And we're hoping to move quickly with you all through this accelerated timeline process. Through the standard grant process, it's much more reasonable times. And we hope that this is helpful for your tribe on navigating this grant process. Again, we'll have office hours from starting August 1st through February 6th, Fridays from 2 to 3 p.m. We're asking to have all of the step 1 preliminary project proposals submitted to CNRA by September 29th by 5 p.m. Again, that's email or mail. We are hoping to use the month of October to review all of the preliminary project proposals and with an anticipated notice of invitation to submit the full project proposals sometime at the end of October. With the idea then of having all the step 2 full project proposal applications due by February 6th by 5 p.m. So the hope is that we have a good chunk of time. We know the step 2 applications. There's a lot of components to those step 2 applications. So wanted to build in plenty of time for folks to be able to prepare those materials. And so the deadline for submitting those will be February 6th. And then from February 6th to sometime in the end of April, the grant team will be navigating the step 3 and 4 review and submission process. Again, those are those site visits, PowerPoint presentations, asking for additional information or clarifying questions, going through that process to make sure we're fully understanding the proposed applications to this grant program. And then sometime early to mid-May, we're anticipating a notice of proposed awards with the goal of June, early July, getting those grant agreements negotiated, established, and so people can really move forward and start implementing and start working on these projects. So those are the due dates and timelines for the 2 different processes. Again, that accelerated timeline due August 28th. And then the more standard kind of grant process due September 29th and February 6th. September 29th being step 1 and February 6th being step 2 deadlines. I already kind of mentioned this, but we are hosting virtual office hours every Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. from August 1st to February 6th, excluding holidays. We know that a couple of Fridays land on some holidays, and so we will not be at those office hours during those holidays, and we can hope that you can take that time off and spend that with your family and communities as well. But if it's not a holiday, we will be online from Friday from 2 to 3 and would really love to connect with you all. The links for those office hours will be can be found on our website. And just know that that's a Teams video conferencing link. We'll also have a phone number to call in if that video conferencing link doesn't fit your preference or you prefer to call in. We are also seeking nominations to serve on the technical expert panel. And so in consultation, we heard from tribes that it would benefit the program to have technical experts who have expertise in traditional ecological knowledge, cultural practices, experience with tribal governments in relation to the lands. And so we are having a call for technical experts to serve on our multidisciplinary evaluation team to review project proposals for this new grant program. And so if you have someone in mind, nominations are due September 1st, and the application can be found on our website. And we just ask that you email those nomination forms to tribalaffairs@resources.ca.gov. So appreciate your help in identifying technical experts to nominate for this panel. So our website, again, is at resources.ca.gov/tribal-nature-base-solutions-program. We hope that that's a helpful website for you all, and we've uploaded all of the information that we've discussed onto that website, and so you can have easy access to it. And so now I am going to stop sharing my screen, and then we will walk through this website right now so you can see all the materials that are available. So I appreciate your patience with me as I get this website pulled up. Hopefully folks can see this. Pete or Jordan, do you mind confirming that you can see the website?
Correct. Looks good.
All right, thank you. So you'll see here on the website, again, we're at resources.ca.gov. You can either do /tribal-nature-base-solutions-program, or you can do the full website of Initiatives, Tribal Affairs, Tribal Nature-Based Solutions Program. Both links will get you to the same place. But here on this website, you will find all of the information that you need for this grant program. We have links to the executive order, Pathways 30x30 strategy, Natural and Working Lands Climate Smart strategy, Ocean Protection Council, and their tribal engagement strategy. So all of those strategies we discussed today, the links are right here in these opening paragraphs. So you can hopefully use that as you are preparing your grant application materials. We also provided the additional links right here on the right side in this yellow box under the additional resources category with our contact information, tribalaffairs@resources.ca.gov. Also on the right-hand side under this yellow box, we have the key dates for the grant program. And we just pulled out the dates for when applications are due. So again, that August 28th for the time-sensitive shovel-ready ancestral land return accelerated applications. We have the September 29th for the step 1 applications and the February 6th for the step 2 applications under that standard grant program. Moving back to the left side of the website, we have a header for the nominations for the Tribal Nature-Based Solutions Expert Panel. You will find the nomination form here under this link. And again, we ask that nominations are submitted to our email address by September 1st. Under the header of the Tribal Nature-Based Solutions Grant Program, we are excited to have these applications open and encourage folks to apply today. You will see again our contact information, and then this link here is the Tribal Nature-Based Solutions Grant Guidelines. And these grant guidelines are kind of the universe of the grant program. So everything has been put into one set of grant guidelines. So if you need to have one place to go to understand and have everything that you need to successfully apply for this grant program, please rely on these grant guidelines. This is our go-to document that everyone's relying on for this new grant program. If you wanted to download one thing, download that one. We have here laid out all of the important due dates and timelines for the Tribal Nature-Based Solutions. So this is the same information that was on those slides that we just covered, but here posted on our website as well. Again, same link to the same grant guidelines here. And then you'll see these pull down windows, and this is what we really wanted to show you. So what we did, we had our Tribal Nature-Based Solutions Grant Guidelines, and we pulled out the questions and the templates for each of the different steps of the grant application, and they are organized under these different pull down windows. So we'll start here with the time-sensitive shovel-ready ancestral land return accelerated timeline application form, and you'll see we pulled out down here. And so you can choose between one application form. Either you have ancestral land return and a planning project application form, or you have ancestral land return and implementation proposal application form. So you can click these two forms, whichever one you're in, if you have a planning project or an implementation project, and these forms will have all of the questions that we went through during the website or during the webinar with a space to type in your answers. We also now have the appendixes of all of the required attachments or forms or basic cost estimates and everything else that is required under the step 2 and step 4 processes of this grant program. And so you'll find all these templates here, and we hope that they're helpful resources for you all as you're filling out these materials. So then if we are in the standard grant program application process, we broke it out between step 1, 2, 3, and 4. And again, we'll have the application form for that step 1, preliminary project proposal application form. And you'll see here Appendix F.1 is that resolution template for either the chairperson or tribal council to designate, yes, this application is advancing our priorities and we are meaningful partners in this process. Under step 2, you'll see planning project application form, implementation project application form, ancestral land return and planning form, or ancestral land return and implementation project application form. You only need to fill out one of these application forms. And so what we tried to do is make it easy. So like I want to do an ancestral land return and implementation project, you would just click this application form and it would have all of the questions that we've already gone through. And again, the associated materials that would be needed to complete under the step 2 process. Step 3 is just a reminder that we will be in touch to schedule a site visit or a PowerPoint presentation. And then step 4, you have the application form for the supporting documentations, and it's step 4. And again, those templates that we hope are helpful resources for you all as you're navigating the step 4 process. So hopefully that makes it a bit easier. If it doesn't, again, go back to the Tribal Nature-Based Solutions Grant Guidelines. It has everything in one spot right there. So we had the information presented in 2 different ways in hopes that it meets the majority of folks and ways to make it easier and more supportive as you're navigating this program. You'll also see under this pull down screen, we have frequently asked questions. This is going to be a living document. And so as we receive questions from folks, either through these webinars or through our open office hours, we are going to add information to this document. And so please keep checking this document as you're navigating the grant program. And if you have a question and you want to answer immediately, check out this document first, because it might have the answer you're looking for. If not, of course, feel free to reach out. We're here to be a resource for you all. And just know that if we keep hearing the same question, even if it's a unique question that we think folks need to know, it's going to be added to this document, and this is going to be continuously updated. So please keep checking that. Again, we included the 3 strategies that we talked about. 30 by 30, these are actually, summary documents. So this is a summary document of the Pathways of 30 by 30, and this is a summary document of the Natural and Working Lands Climate Smart Strategy. So we know that these 2 strategies are pretty robust, and it might be helpful to just get a summary to understand kind of what the documents are trying to do before you dive into the bigger strategy. So we hope those 2 summaries are helpful for you. So this pull down here is all of the webinars that we're hosting. So you all are in our first webinar. Thank you again for joining us this morning. So we really appreciate your all's time here. If you want to hear the exact same PowerPoint presentation, or if you miss us and you want to hang out with us on the 8th or 9th, you're more than welcome. We would love to have you join us. Our next webinar is on August 8th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then our 3rd webinar is going to be in the evening for folks who prefer to join us in the evening on August 9th from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And so please feel free to join us if you're interested. We are also going to be posting the recordings of these webinars also under this pull down window. And so if you're working on a grant application and you wanted to revisit this webinar, this is where you're going to find that recording. And last but not least, we also have information on how to join us for our open office hours. Again, every Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. From August 1st through February 6th, excluding holidays. And you can join us by clicking here at this link, or pasting this full link into your web browser. The meeting ID number and passcode are available here. Or if you prefer to call in, here's the phone number that you can call in to join us via phone. And so that is our website. I hope that it's a helpful resource to you all. Again, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Our contact is tribalaffairs@resources.ca.gov. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen, go back to the PowerPoint presentation. Again, this is our website address if you would like to get back to that website. And we'll now move into our question and answer portion of the webinar. Feel free, again, email us at tribalaffairs@resources.ca.gov.